Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of Crit Hit Reviews with your host, Arlyeon. On today's episode, I'll be talking about Pixelnick's roguelite adventure, Eagle Island. Find out if this title made my heart soar, or if I felt it left me with egg on my face. So in this game, you take the role of Quill, a young man traveling alongside his owl friends Koji and Ichiro. Well, not really traveling for long, given how he winds up shipwrecked and stranded on the namesake island before the intros even really had time to finish, but hey. The icing on this crap cake, however, is one of his avian associates ends up birdnapped by a house-sized eagle, leading him on an epic adventure to get his bird back mostly. And I guess commune with some ancient totemic elemental burbs to even the odds a little. But yeah, so while a lot of your game time will be some fairly story-light spelunking, the bits of story that happen between the stages is fairly entertaining altogether, and some of the plot points that came up were neat and altogether unexpected. I also distinctly appreciate that there was some neat little hidden sections of the island, which seem to mainly serve as bits of unspoken story in the form of, background hieroglyphics. That said, while the story had some hard-hitting moments, I think the overall difficulty of the game hit harder. I did not expect it to be anywhere near as tricky going in. See, Eagle Island's a platforming adventure, which tasks you to clear a number of stages, with your primary weapon being, basically your owl friend. You basically just yeet them face first at your opposition, though you're limited to cardinal directions, thus requiring a fair bit more precision than you might expect. What's more, missing an opponent or launching your burb friend into a wall, or more grievously, face first into an obstacle or attack will leave you open and without a means of attacking for a few brief moments. So the game highly rewards precision, quick thinking, and chaining hits together. Which segues, I said segue, not sieg, into another difficult aspect. That being, not only do you have low health, but to recover your meager health pool, you need to successfully chain hits together to build up combos enough to spawn health points. It's honestly both a challenging and interesting system, and there are more than a few stages where I ended up running around at low health praying for a situation where I could chain together enough hits to save myself, only to then die like a chump because of a reckless attempt at pulling off said combo. Which, ends up pretty agonizing given there aren't any checkpoints during the stages. Suffice to say, there were more than a few levels I ended up extremely familiar with by the time I cleared them. Though that familiarity mostly came from the fact that I was running through the game's story mode, which provides you a set of challenging themed maps to clear, which are set in nature, and all of which are scattered around an overworld map that's designed sort of like a Metroidvania light. Now, I say this because the ability to navigate around the island is very much tied to the abilities you gradually unlock as you clear Eagle Island's various stages, with just over half of the game's levels being hidden. In fact, the true final level of the game requires you to find a collectible item, namely ancient eagle coins, in all of these stages, including the basically half of them that are hidden to be able to even access it. Though, what makes collecting the eagle coins challenging isn't the fact that you need to discover all those hidden stages. No, what makes these coins challenging is the fact that they're either well hidden, well protected, involve a puzzle, are simply challenging to access, or all of the above. All of the above is in fact an option for some of these. They also have the complete gall to take up a rune slot, which you only have a few of, and which are rather important as they serve as the primary means of you customizing your loadout in a given stage. Whether it's being able to utilize elemental powers without mana for a limited time, reducing the amount of cooldown your feathered friend undergoes after an attack, changing your mobility, or even just providing more health and other options besides this, they're potent options. Well, until those runes expire from overuse, or time passing, or because you died, or because you cleared a stage and they all go away there too. I mean, thankfully, a recent patch has made it easier to both accumulate runes and even start levels with them. And heck, if you're not enamored with achievements, you can even play with the gameplay tweaks, which allow you options like having your rune stones not break, or 360-degree aiming, which is pretty overpowered. But anyways, between this and the stage's penchant for sending you wailing back to its beginning, this sort of helps to sum up the roguelite aspects of the game. That said, if you're more of a purist looking for something more roguelike, or at least closer to it, Eagle Island does provide a rogue mode, as long as you beat the main story. And by beat, I mean clear the story, not obsessively collect all the coins and do all the secrets and do the true final level. I just mean clear the story. As long as you do that, you get access to Rogue Mode, which provides you with an array of stages that are randomly generated every time you start, or die, and provides you that rush of adrenaline as all your progress disintegrates into the ether once you've screwed up and died miserably. It also actually provides you with seeds, which are generated by Kickstart backers in this sort of seed mode. And there's also a boss rush mode if you're feeling your oats today and can manage to unlock it through the rogue mode. Now that all said, let's move on to the audio. And there are some major earworms in the game soundtrack, not in a bad way, but there's been some moments where I'd pop off from the game and still had its opening theme bouncing around in my skull. Overall, pretty good stuff. In the graphics section, there is a lot here to unpack, enough so to warrant a bit more focus than I normally would stick in a graphics section. So first off, Eagle Island has some absolutely gorgeous pixel work at the heart of it, with lush environments to explore, some really enjoyable character animations for the protagonists, the enemies, and especially the bosses. But that's not the part that impressed me so profoundly. I mean, it's super neat that you can alter the game's visuals to be sharpened, softer, or even add CRT lines, but no, the thing that really got me was the sheer array of accessibility options that were baked into the mix. Whilst a number of these are just tied to general stuff, there's a lot of options in the graphics department to help people who suffer from epilepsy, since you reduce the lighting and reduce flashing. For folks who get queasy from screen shake, you can disable that too. And also just the ability to both outline your character and platforms is distinctly nice, since I'll admit, I've been really guilty in more than one occasion of just wandering off ledges because I mistook background for foreground. And it's sometimes easy to lose track of your character with some of the graphical hazards that you have to deal with in some of the extra levels. Overall, they're very impressive features. So, let's tally up everything, shall we? When it comes to the time I spent with Eagle Island, I did enjoy my experience. While it's not necessarily a narratively dense story, what is there is fun and doesn't bog down the game's sense of flow. Also, I had some definite feels near the tail end of the game, but it was the gameplay that really had me hooked in Eagle Island. Which is sort of hilarious because it drove me insane sometimes because of just how bad I was to start at it. And yet every time I died and threw myself into a stage from scratch, I found myself learning and adapting, figuring out how the enemies worked, the right balance of runes, and innately becoming attuned to the distance and speed of my little burb friend's attack. And then I'd stumble into a bonus level and come face to face with their mechanics. And there's something else altogether. I haven't really talked about them much out so far, given they are different and unique. They contain some absolutely dastardly challenges, like needing to outrun a forest fire while reaching the end of the stage, navigating a swamp mired in mists, or dealing with hallucinogenic gases that completely mess up the screen interface. Or, most dastardly of all for me, snowboarding. Fuck snowboarding. I am tremendously bad at it. I would be happy to never snowboard again. But honestly, there was something about just learning to adapt and overcome these challenges that was immensely addictive, even if the journey there could be demoralizing at times. Dying in a boss room while learning the various mechanics could be crushing, especially if I'd managed to crawl my, nearly broken butt through the door with an eagle coin, only to discover that the bonus stage variant of a boss was going to beat me to death harder than the Rickroll meme. It's dead, Jim. But that's part of why I ended up appreciating all the various bits of accessibility that are built into the game. Options like being able to aim with your mouse, yes please, or setting it so you can see character outlines or change the overall clarity of the characters. To better gauge how far your owl can go, or other odds and ends are incredibly useful to incorporate in the game. And just the gameplay tweaks are a nice touch as well for people who are having difficulty adjusting certain elements of the game. And there's just adjustable difficulty that you can access at all times, which is another lovely feature. and which I might have delved into during the snowboarding level, cough, cough, cough. Honestly, I just really respect what was done with this game, and whilst I did butt heads with it here and there, I do recommend Eagle Island as a quintessentially solid hit with a lot of replayability baked right into it. Anywho, thanks for tuning in. If you agree, disagree, or just have something to say to me, feel free to comment. For those interested in more indie reviews, developer interviews, podcasts, or our Monday TTRPG content, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you know when there's a new release. There's also a Discord. Click the link in the banner description so you can become a part of our community, the Crit Hit Cauldron. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel, we have a coffee running now, just to help supplement funds for a lovely editor and to make sure that I have food on my table. And, so we can continue to provide quality content. Again, check the description in the banner for them links. I'll catch you on the next episode of Crit Hit. Take care till then, folks.